So today I went to a public lecture entitled Plastic Pollution in the Ocean, Choose Your Toothpaste, presented by Annalisa Bracco, an esteemed professor and scientist in Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at Georgia Tech. During this 1 hour lecture, the question was asked, just what happens to the garbage, specifically plastic, that we throw away? Well, that question is not as simple as one would think. The short answer, it ends up in the ocean. But to be more exact, it's far more interesting. Turns out there are two different forms of plastic that end up in the ocean: open ocean pollution and coastal pollution. Coastal pollution is what most people think of when discussing ocean pollution. Coastal pollution is all of the large pieces of trash that can be found in the ocean, anything from bottle caps to waste bins. Interesting enough, the pollution is easily manipulated by the wind using an algorithm known as the Stromal model. One can predict where the currents will lead the garbage, which just so happens to be the 5 quite stable patches scattered around the globe. Open ocean pollution, however, is small, located usually 500 to 600 miles off the coast. These particles are quite small in comparison to coastal pollution. One of these patches of plastic that is most observed is the North Pacific Gyre, which oddly enough has less plastic than researchers predicted, which leads to the question, where is this plastic going? One possible theory is that fish, bacteria, and zooplankton eat very small pieces of open ocean pollution. Fish, in fact, eat plastic that ranges from 0.5 millimeters long to 5 millimeters long, which doesn't seem like much, but it has a large impact on the ecosystem. Not to mention the larger wildlife, such as seabirds and sea turtles, that are killed by trying to eat the larger plastic in the ocean. So how does all of this end up in the ocean? Well, besides trash from landfills and coastlines ending up in the ocean, beauty products such as body washes and toothpaste use polypropylene microbeads as exfoliants. Not only are these microbeads carcinogens, they also end up in the ocean to further contaminate the wildlife, which then is consumed. Researchers have come up with more unconventional methods to researching these plastics in the ocean, creating the Kon-Tiki 2 expedition, a round-trip voyage around the Pacific Gyre to better understand the composition of the gyre as well as how these plastics are disappearing into the ocean. After the lecture, I decided to find out what could be done about the amount of plastic in the ocean and what a person without a raft and a fishing trawl could do. As it turns out, most of the plastic that enters the ocean enters from China, which is interesting because the United States uses much more plastic. As it turns out, the common practice for American companies is to ship plastic to China for either recycling or disposal, which doesn't really solve the problem, but moves it to the other side of the globe. In 2012, restrictions on the quality of plastic that was able to be exported was made, and the U.S. exports of plastic, oddly enough, dropped by 18%. Still, 4.8 to 12.7 million tons of plastic end up in the ocean every year. Asking local representatives to lobby for safer plastic disposal could significantly lower these numbers. On a daily basis, one can prevent plastic from entering the ocean by using products that don't have microbeads of plastic. Furthermore, one can begin using other materials besides plastic in their daily lives. If not, it's not clear what will happen to the ocean and the wildlife in it.